What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. I'm here with my good friend, Nicole Jordan.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me, Nicole. So she drove all the way up from Sunland Park, way down there, close to the Texas border, to be on today. So thank you so much for fighting the traffic and everything.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be a great episode today. We're going to have great conversations and topics. We're even going to talk about some advocacy stuff. I love to talk about advocacy, but I don't have a lot of people who know advocacy on the show. Nicole happens to do. She's one of my Padawans. If you guys don't know what that means, it just means a Jedi apprentice. So in this sense, we're talking about advocacy. So it's great to have someone on that has done advocacy, been fighting with me and been learning too. So it's gonna be fun. Real quick, I want to thank my sponsors real fast. Monster House is one. That's where we're sitting at right now at the Consumption Lounge. I call this the Edgar Allan Poe corner. Also check them out in Rio Doso. As you guys know, Rio Doso is dealing with a bunch of stuff. Yesterday, unfortunately, at the time of recording, they had another flood. It rained over there and it flooded again. So they got hit again. So if you guys can do what you can to help out, donate, please right now let them heal too. But if you can, reach out to whatever charity you can that's, actively trying to help Rio Doso if you can. I know Nicole's been kind of leading that too down in Sunland Park. So, thank you for that, by the way.
Thank you to everybody that donated. We couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, because without the donations, there's nothing that happens. But thank you for Monster House. We're here in the Consumption Lounge right now. Come check them out here in Cruces. Also, Cinder Cannabis here in Cruces. That's one of my other sponsors. Of course, Turquoise Bloom, my third sponsor. Thank you guys all so much with your help and with your contribution that's helping the show keep going. And Gino's getting some more cameras. So and I forget which one to look at sometimes.
Yeah, I forgot to ask that before we started. I hope I've been looking at the right one.
Oh, he'll let you know.
Okay, good. I've been like.
No, he's good at letting you know. Don't worry. So yeah, let's get into the episode and everything. So thank you, Jordan. Jordan. I mean, that's your last name. Thank you, Nicole, for joining me today. It's great to have you on. A long time coming. Tracy's here in the Consumption Lounge with us, and I'll get her on here in a couple weeks. So it'll be great to have her on too. We'll get some more advocacy conversations going. So I've known you for a couple years. We both started. Well, I started with High Horse with you when we were over there, but you started with somewhere else, and we'll get with that soon. So for the people who don't know you, who've never met you, why don't you give them a little bit of yourself? Or tell them about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Nicole, and I am 25 years old. I started selling CBD in a mall in El Paso, Texas when I was 20, and I stayed there for 2 years, worked up to be store manager, and then COVID hit. But because CBD is considered wellness, it was considered essential at the time. So luckily I was able to keep a job during that, and I would go and deliver CBD tinctures to like the people that I knew that were counting on it like a ton. Like they were buying 3,000 milligram tinctures for pain that they were not wanting to take with medicine anymore. So during that time I was able to hear a lot about medical conditions and how they were mitigating symptoms from that with cannabis, whether it was CBD like I was selling, or they were getting THC from somewhere else. New Mexico hadn't gone legal at that time recreationally, so it was only medical. And eventually I was able to get a job in the medical scene for cannabis in New Mexico, and from there it went rec, and here we are today.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't think I knew the CBD part, aspect of it when you were 20. Because I met you when I think you were 22, almost 23. Because when is your birthday? Or what month?
April.
April.
Yeah.
Okay. So right after I think you turned 23 is when I met you. Yeah. So because you're 25 now.
Yeah. I was yes, I was 23. That's right. Started in 2002.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, time flies.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm no longer considered youth.
Yeah. Now it's like, okay, you have a mature brain now, so they expect certain things from you.
Society takes the age of 25 much more seriously.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of, when did you start first using cannabis?
I tried it when I was 17. I went to a Catholic all-girls school, so it was I grew up very in a bubble. So I tried it, but I didn't really start consuming until I was at the CBD shop. That's when I would be introduced to all those things. And then Delta 8 hit during that time. So I got to experience like the edible kind of stuff. Was like, I had gone to Colorado before, but yeah, it was that. I think around 20, 20.
2020 around
20.
2020 when you were 20 at 2020. That's kind of funny. Yeah. You
Yeah.
were 20 in 2020. Well, that's cool. You know, like some people, they start really young. You know, myself, I tried it when I was 14 for the first time, you know, many, many years ago. But other people, you know, a little later in life. And I was actually probably smarter because, you know, they're finding out that in your youth using cannabis is probably not a good idea. So, you know, you're better off, you know, doing it a little later in life anyway. So,
We'll find out.
right. And you know, you're from Texas, right? You're from El Paso, which, you know, in the area sometimes you kind of forget it's Texas, because we're so close and we're so close in, you know, culture and everything that it kind of blends together sometimes. So we all know the laws in Texas and how strict they are. Like, how has that really affected you personally in Texas?
It affected me majorly because when I was at the CBD shop, I was arrested for a cartridge, allegedly. And and I was very fortunate enough to have a very good lawyer, and that's not the case for everybody. And I think that process just really opened up my eyes for that reality for many people. I got to meet people that I say I wouldn't necessarily come across in my everyday life because we were put in a situation that many people have been traumatized by. So it was a very strong impact going through that. I remember I was on probation during the lockdown, so
Yeah.
that was interesting. So it was a lot of time to reflect, and I promised myself that I would do something about it, and I didn't know what, but little by little, I think I've been able to see the light and the message behind that situation in my life. So it affected it majorly. And now working in New Mexico, I'm very happy that the state has taken me in with open arms,
Hmm.
and I can work in an industry that I was once arrested for in another state, but yet it allows me to bring in knowledge from New Mexico to my home state once it does happen, whenever it does happen. But when it does, I know that I'll be informed enough to be able to help people that have also gone through the situation I went through and
Yeah.
stayed in it. So
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that, you know, you've told me the story before, but this is your, you know, first time I've heard you share it publicly. So thank you for sharing that. You know, I'm sure a lot of people or a few people could probably either share a similar story or that story might be motivating to them. So I really appreciate you sharing that because, you know, not everybody likes to share their story that got them into cannabis, you know, but that's actually a really impactful one, you know?
it's hard. At first, I hid it for like a year, 2 years. I just did not want anybody to know about that. And
Now you got street cred.
yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
before. I'm just kidding. No, but um, I don't know. It's just been something that I did not feel comfortable sharing, but as I've gone into advocacy work specifically, it's been what has allowed me to feel more comfortable because someone has to speak on what's happening and someone has to share their story. And, people have to do it, and there are the people that do it. And it's cool when you do hear that because then it inspires you to do it as well. And once you get a lot of voices in there, they have no choice but to listen. And they should be listening to the injustices that many Texans are facing.
Yeah, because, you know, like Texas, even going into Texas or El Paso, you know, I'm like, okay, did I bring anything? You know, this and that. You know, like I'm afraid to smoke there. You know, like it's a whole thing. You know, and having a pen in Texas, as you guys know, they weigh the whole pen. You know,
Felony.
yeah, felony. So it's unfortunate that's the case still. You know, hopefully it changes soon.
So
Yeah, but you know, we'll get back onto Texas again because, you know, I have a couple more questions about it when it comes to that. But what made you get into New Mexico's cannabis scene?
I worked at the mall in El Paso, which is Sunland Park Mall, and 10 minutes across Sunland Park Mall is Sunland Park, New Mexico. So I remember Pecos Valley had just opened up, and at that time it was only Ultra that had, that was only dispensary in the area. And there was this like little loop at the time where you could, what was it? I think they were like, I don't know, should I even be saying all that? Well, I mean, it happened. They were
Yeah,
selling stickers, and then
yeah,
they were like, if you buy this sticker, you can get this much of
yeah,
cannabis or whatever for this much. So I remember when I first went to Ultra, it was kind of like the one place, right? So it was popping there was a line around the whole corner. And so I remember seeing how busy Ultra was when Pecos opened. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get so busy like that. But the location difference is crazy. Like, so the Pecos Valley was all the way towards the back towards warehouses, and at the time those were the only 2 dispensaries in the area,
Yeah.
so no one was driving all the way back there because all that was there was like trailer
Hmm.
storage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we would see maybe like 6 people in a day, so I got to do a lot of bonding with Bennett and Colt and Esteban, who will now be working at Cookies. So
Hmm.
it's been really cool to see that whole transition. But that's how I started. It was just right across 10 minutes, and I told my mom, "What's an extra 10-minute more drive for like more pay?" And she
Yeah.
was like, "True."
Worth it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's cool. So, you started, over at Pecos Valley, with them, right? Where was that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then moved over, went to High Horse, and that's where I met you. I guess, a lot of the employees, I guess, ended up going to High Horse, from Pecos Valley in the area. And then, yeah, that ended, and now you're at Dark Matter, right? Or Dark Matter Top Crop, kind of the sister company thing. So, what do you do over there?
I do impact and outreach. So in
Okay.
other words, PR and marketing.
Okay. So, like a lot of the stuff that you guys see, you're kind of behind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like a
Yeah.
lot of the
Right.
marketing stuff and
Yeah,
yeah.
my hand's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, because you do a lot of the events, right?
Yeah, I was able to get the great experience of planning the Connoisseur Classic golf tournament that
Mhm.
happened earlier in April. And that was my first event that I had ever planned to that scale, and it turned out to be a great success. We raised $30,000 for the Last Prisoner project, and we were also able to bring business to a local golf course that I've found out usually doesn't get that many visitors
Oh, okay.
in Española. It's the Black Mesa Golf Course. If you guys are in the area, check it out. It's gorgeous. But yeah, so it was really, really awesome experience to have that event. And doing the small ones at stores is also a lot of fun. So having those two aspects of events has been a great tool to have under my belt for the future ones.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because there's more events to come. I mean, there's different things throughout the year that you guys do. So, well, most dispensaries anyway, too.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like in the southern part of the state, we do so many events. I mean, New Mexico as a whole does a lot of events, but the southern part, like, we're just always putting out those events, especially in the summertime. So, like right now, we've had an event almost every weekend, not just specifically like at Dark Matter, but just in the industry. There's been Laughing Grass, there's
Hmm.
been the Southwest Cannabis Convention. Yours is coming up,
Which you guys are
so
going to be there, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yes, I hope so. I think so. I'm looking forward to attending it because I know that you're going to do everything by the book, and that's very refreshing, to know that you can attend an event and say like, okay, if they were to take pictures of us here, like, we're totally fine because everything is being followed, all the laws are being followed. So I think that's something great that your event is going
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because you guys, I know I love compliance,
to
and
have.
sometimes I will test the state. Don't get me wrong, because sometimes they're not clear on things, so they're not clear until you test them. So sometimes we have to do that to get an answer from them. But for the most part, I do like to do things, by the book, as legal as possible, because we fought really hard for a legal market here. Why would we ruin it and just start doing a bunch of dumb shit? And I get there's certain laws that we need to change, and we'll get to that at some point. But right now we have the laws that we have, and we have to kind of work around them or work with them. So I'd rather work with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we work with them and then we can say, hey, we followed them, but this, and that.
Yeah, exactly. And like the state regulators, they understand certain things, but the CCDs has their hand tied when it comes to the CRA. There's only certain things they can do.
Yeah.
So until we get that changed legislatively, wink, wink, looking at everybody, we're gonna just have to deal with what we have.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
But maybe one day we'll have conventions where we can have full-on smoking events and dab bars there. There might be a future for us for that, but it's not right now in 2024, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So. But speaking of that and everything, let's segue into talking about Sunland Park. How competitive is over there,
Mhm.
because it's a whole different animal. And like you were saying, before legalization, it was pretty much just a couple of trailers, and I call it Little Dubai. And if you guys go down there right now, it looks nothing like it looked like a couple of years ago. There's so much construction going on. There's so much building going on that it's blowing up like Dubai did at one point. It still grows a lot, but at one point it just exploded. And Sunland Park is kind of like seeing that on a mini scale. and that's why it's called Little Dubai. But yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because it's such a competitive place and it's so small. There's only like 18,000 people there or something like that.
Mhm.
So how is it working in Sunland Park? Is it kind of crazy or like, what is it? What is it like? Like, is it really competitive?
I when I well, because I worked at Pecos Valley when
Yeah.
it was just those two dispensaries, I kept it in mind with that slow kind of pace. And going back into Sunland, not only just into a very busy city, like tax wise,
Yeah.
money, like what it's bringing into the state, but um, just the busiest store, you just feel some sort of energy shift. You really do. Like you're starting to drive into Sunland and you're passing that little four-stop place,
Yeah.
and I just promise you, you feel some sort of energy shift because there's just so much going on there. There's so much foot traffic. No matter what dispensary like you look to, whether it's you drive in, it's Field of Dreams. You keep driving down Everest, and then there's our Greenleaf, Old Gods, Dark Matter. Keep driving down. There's Pecos. I mean, there's just so much action wherever you look. So it's very competitive.
Hmm.
I believe specials have to be a bit more competitive in that area. Say if it were to be in another city like Las Cruces, just because it's different markets.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know Sunland, it's basically Texas bringing in that money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's just being able
18,000 people ain't gonna make that much money.
yeah,
Yeah.
being able to adapt to what the markets are bringing. So I feel like it's very very competitive
Hmm.
working in Sunland, but I absolutely love it. I think if you're a person that like doesn't mind talking to like over 100 people in a shift or whatever it might be, then that place is for you.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like a difference between working in like Las Vegas versus working in like Montana. Like a bar in Vegas versus a bar in Montana. It's kind of like the difference. One's going to be crazy, and the other one's going to be kind of probably busy, but not that bad.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
on 420 alone in Sunland Park, there was events going on at so many dispensaries. Now, some of them got shut down because they didn't abide by fire code. They didn't get the permits and all that has to be done when putting together events. But point is, the intention behind it. There was so much going on. I mean, you see these people get shut down and like trucks of just vendors and the food trucks are driving out. You're
Yeah.
like, my God, wow, all that potential. And I remember Dutchy actually went down on 420. And so at some point you look around and it's just stagnant lines no
Yeah.
matter where you look. And you text your friends at other dispensaries like, hey, is Dutchy working for you? Or like, what's it looking for you over there? And it's just madness everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely crazy, but I really enjoy it. I'm
Yeah.
blessed that that's my mothership.
No, yeah, you are because some people they don't get that full experience that you're getting. Because like it's a total different one. And if you guys have never been to Sunland Park, do it at least once because you're gonna be blown away. Like Albuquerque, yeah, it's a very competitive market, but the numbers that Sunland Park is pulling in is crazy for the amount of people that live there, for the amount of people that have to go there and visit for that amount of money to be made is insane. Because you have about 3 million people that are just nearby, in Juarez and El Paso, kind of combined.
Yeah, 3 million.
About 3 million people. And then all those, not all of them, but, a good chunk want to go get cannabis, but you have Albuquerque, it's about 800,000, 900,000 metropolitan area, maybe, the metro area, probably about a million. So you're looking at half of what's going on down here. So, and the thing is that blows my mind is Sunland Park's not done. They're just getting started. And that's what blowing my mind away because they have that, adult theme park kind of thing that's, being built down there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to bring in a lot of people because I keep telling them, you need to figure out a way to keep the Texans there. If you figure out how to keep the Texans there longer, you're going to make more money. And we're going to see Albuquerque numbers and we're going to beat Albuquerque eventually with, that kind of revenue that's going on over there, especially with that like adult theme park that's going on down there. That's going to be insane.
I can't imagine that place, dude. It's just it sounds so wild to me. I can't believe we're gonna have something like that.
I know, in New Mexico, at all places, it's like what? And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, so in Sunland Park, little area, New Mexico, they're gonna have like this adult theme park essentially. There's gonna be areas for concerts, different little venues. They're gonna have hotels on area. They're gonna have areas for campers for the older people. They're gonna have bars and dispensaries and I don't know, open consumption. It's pretty much gonna be like an adult village where you can kind of just do
Sounds
whatever you
wild.
want. It sounds like. Of course, there might be a couple laws we might have to change, which I'm all for. So we'll see what happens, because that's something that I feel New Mexico really needs, especially like in the Sunland Park area.
Yeah. I wonder what area specifically it's going to be in, though.
I think I remember because me and someone else we were working on that not long ago, but it fizzled out for some reason. But I think it's going to be. You know where the Walmart is in Sunland, like that little area. It's going to be in that kind of back area over there on the New Mexico side, I think.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
what I was hearing, that like the thing itself is going to be in New Mexico, but some of the parking is going to be in Texas.
Yes, exactly.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
So don't be smoking in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Wait till you get inside.
Gosh,
So
that Walmart's going to be the scariest place to go to.
I know that's going to be insane. Yeah, because that's on the Texas side, huh? The Walmart.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Pretty sure it is.
I think it is. Yeah,
It's like the railroad, and then it's Texas.
Yeah, because I call that the paper rip of the state, because it's the only part of the state where it's jagged like this, where it goes like squiggly and weird.
Yeah,
So-
one neighborhood, one street is Texas, another one it's New Mexico.
Yeah, and you're like, what the heck? 5 feet this way, Texas, 5 feet that way, New Mexico. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's a weird little area, and it's interesting. Like I said, if you guys ever had a chance to go. It's insane down there, and the amount of other businesses that are popping up. Cookies is coming soon, so that's going to add even more competition to Sunland Park and bring even more of the niche kids that love cookies and everything like that to the area. Because right now the only place that you can get it are certain places, dispensaries, and of course Albuquerque. So it's up to you if you want it. I don't tell people where to shop. But yeah, that's going to add a little more competition, I think, at Sunland Park even further.
Oh yeah.
And we'll see once the consumption lounge stuff starts to pop up too. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and speaking to people in the dispensaries in the area that like work there, I think we're all kind of just like very much looking forward to Cookies opening.
Yeah.
Because I said it's very competitive, so those that thrive in that environment were like, oh, we're ready for more, let's do it.
Yeah, because one of the dispensaries shut down for like a day, and I guess a bunch of people from other dispensaries in the area were over there like trying to poach the customers and stuff. So it's crazy down there. I was like, someone needs to take a video of this because that sounds funny, or make a skit. Like a skit needs to be made out of that because that's funny. Like I could just see it in my mind, like people chasing after people. Like, hey, wait.
Yeah, people were saying all kinds of stuff. I remember I was hearing everything that day.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh my God. And then the news even covered it. I was like, wow, that was a bigger story than I thought.
yeah, it really was.
Yeah, dispensary shuts down in Sunland Park. Everybody knows about it. So yeah, but yeah, I'm glad, and thank you for sharing that experience with me, because not many people that come on the show have that Sunland Park experience, and I try to tell people all the time about how crazy it is down there. It's a totally different vibe. We have to go down there for business sometimes, or we just go down there for events or pop-ups, and yeah, you hit that four-way stop, and it just, for whatever reason, it's just a total different vibe. Just everything kicks up is what it feels. You just feel a zoom in energy. Yeah, like everything just boom, like a Vegas feel. Like dang,
you do.
like we're here. Like woo, it's wild. So I'm really interested to see what's to come into Sunland Park. Like what are your kind of visions that's going to happen for Sunland?
Community-wise, I hope that the future involves bettering the environment for those that live in it already, before we can focus on the whole shiny part of retail cannabis.
That's good.
I think that with it being so successful in bringing in millions of dollars in taxes, specifically to Sunland, I hope that we can see the roads get fixed. I hope that we can see their trash get regularly picked up. I hope that we can see the schools have graduation parties and all the other things that are necessary for children to have a good development and relationship with school.
Yeah.
Not just getting them by in whatever materials are being handed. Like Sunland is in an area, I think, where they can really amp it up and invest in the future, which is the kids.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's where it's headed. I hope that the money is headed into the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's cool. Thank you for sharing all that with me, because Sunland Park is something totally different, in the whole state. And yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see what comes from it and where it goes. And yeah, it's good that you mentioned schools and everything like that, because that's what I hope for New Mexico as a whole. But Sunland Park is situated to really benefit. You only have 18,000 people, and you're raking in all this money. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the other places in New Mexico, Artesia, New Mexico. We drove through it when we went to Eastern New Mexico. And we'll talk about that here in actually a second. So Artesia, New Mexico is an oil town, but they are actually doing pretty well. Their stadium was actually in National Geographic's, their football stadium for high school. I actually played there in high school against them when I was in high school. Really nice stadium. Yeah, there's a reason why it's a National Geographic's. Nice stadium. Like, you don't think you're in New Mexico when you're in that stadium. It's wild. Yeah, I think we drove by it, and I don't think you guys really realized it. But yeah, I was pointing out to everybody in the van. I was like, "Oh yeah, there's the stadium."
Is that when I do remember you were? We were like, "What is he?"
Yeah, I was pointing at the stadium. Yeah, that's what I was pointing at. So, Sunland Park is setting themselves up to be something similar, but with cannabis. And I kind of feel that's better, because cannabis isn't much of a harm to the environment and people as oil was, because we drove to the Permian Basin and that was gross.
Yeah, maybe more regulations should be put on the oil.
Yeah, because we'll get in that in a second actually. So yeah, but anyway, thank you for for coming on the show today. We're gonna jump on to the next topic, which is going to be advocacy. So we're going to be talking more here in a second, but thank you for sharing, the Sunland Park thing, all that good stuff, your, new position at Dark Matter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been about a year now?
Yes.
Yeah, been about a year now. Yeah. So congratulations on that.
August.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah, almost a year now.
Yeah.
So congrats on that. So yeah, but anyway, we're going to continue on with the conversation. Now we're going to talk about advocacy, one of my favorite conversations to really talk about. And just so luckily that you are one of the advocates with me. You're one of my Padawans. And I say that heavily, but her and Tracy are my Padawans, and I've been showing you guys the ropes, and you guys have been learning from other people too, which is great. You can't just learn from one person. It takes a whole bunch of people to really teach people. So I really appreciate both of you, for your hard work and everything, because we've been doing a lot advocacy wise, and I saw it start, when we're at High Horse. They really, one thing I will say that came from it is they did push the advocacy thing on people for a while, and you guys really learned a lot a short time with that, and you continued on afterwards, because even after you left High Horse, I told you, I still want you to advocate. You're still going to be someone who's one of the key people, and I still hold that true today. And I'm glad that you decided to keep going, because I feel like it lit more of a passion in you than anything. You were more ready than anything after that. And I was like, oh, I see that. There you go. Now we're ready to go.
Yeah.
So for you so far, how has your advocacy journey been? Like, I've never asked you before. Like, how is the advocacy world for you? Like, for me, everyone knows how it is because I talk about it all the time. But how is it for you?
Well, I remember when you were asking that, I was having a flashback to when we attended the city council meeting in Sunland Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I think that was actually my first ever city council meeting, and in general. And so you were like, you should go up there, and my hands were sweating so much. I was like, no way I can do that.
Yeah.
And then you guys had taken some plants, and it made such an impact on me. And then from there, well, it was like, go speak in the Las Cruces City Council, and at that time, I don't think it was really like, do you want to? It was more like, you should really do it.
Yeah.
Like, go do it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm happy that I was put in a position where it was kind of like, just go do it, because now I don't think I would have taken that jump if it was like up to me the whole time.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we need that gentle push from people that we admire. So thank you for giving me that push in the first place.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And then after speaking, publicly, and you're like, wow, my voice actually can have an impact, because I've seen groups get together where their city council is voting on an item, and if your message is moving enough and you can get enough people to contribute to that feeling, then you can tell them, like, you can basically influence what they're going to say, if they're going to pass it or if they're not.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that that's where it all starts local.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, just learning more and more and more. And the more you learn, the more you want to fix. And the more you want to fix, well, the more you're going to get involved. And the more you're involved, well, I think that the passion is there.
Yeah. And then, the local politicians, even the state politicians, or sometimes national, they notice that. They recognize faces. They realize who people are. Like me and Val, we were in Santa Fe, a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, and the people from the old Department of Health, people, they recognized both of us, gave us hugs and everything. I was like, oh my God, they recognize us, and so it was actually really cool. So, yeah, like they do start recognizing you more, and, showing up really makes an impact. It makes a difference. And you saw that firsthand, like how much of a difference. I mean, you were there when Las Cruces City Council decided not to do hours. You can do 24 hours if you like. You were there, you were a part of that. And, that was a huge win for us, because as an industry, everybody in Las Cruces gets to benefit from that, and we got to saw how much power that is,
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a very big impact. Is just that, and then leaving the room and everyone's like, "We did it!
Yeah,
Let's do the next one."
yeah. It's like, let's go again. Yeah. But then, we had our losses, and those suck. Those drive homes were really quiet. But those losses, they suck. But for some reason, they always motivate me to go back, and keep fighting. And I could see that in both you and Tracy, and in all of us in the group and everything. So I really appreciate both of your dedication, especially you, talking to you on the show right now. I can't get Tracy right now, even though she could probably yell. But, I really appreciate your dedication, because, a lot of people will and have given up doing this just because, it's hard work, and it's not glorious work at all whatsoever. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of stuff that, you wish you could get paid for, but you're not, and it's actually better off not getting paid for it for really good reasons. So, I really appreciate that because, a lot of people have given up on this, and on the state. So, and you're not even from here. So that says volumes, because you're a dual advocate. You advocate for Texas and New Mexico. And, that's another rare thing, because where we live in the area, we have so many people that work in the New Mexico cannabis industry that are from Texas, and it's kind of surprising sometimes, especially in the area. In Albuquerque, they don't really think about it. And you saw during the town hall, like the differences, and we'll talk about that. But down here, you will more than likely run into someone who lives in El Paso or Texas, working in our industry because it's so close, and it only makes sense, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, people like that, like, will make a drive from Socorro, Texas, all the way to like New Mexico, because, well, also the minimum wage difference.
Yeah.
Is notable. Yeah, Texas is like at federal minimum wage, which is $7
Like
and some
$7.
cents. Yeah.
Yeah.
And New Mexico's at 11, 12, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's 11 or 12, yeah, but Cruces, I think, is at 12 or 13. We're going to be going up to 15, I think. Yeah, I think it's 12. Is it 12? I don't know. Gino could probably look it up while we're talking.
Yeah, Sunland also, like, most of them do 15, so.
Yeah. That's like the going rate for most dispensaries, I've noticed, is about 15 starting out, which that's great, especially if you're coming from Texas with like a $7 minimum wage. Yeah, like you can get somebody at $10 an hour, doing that. So it only makes sense. That's one reason why, you'll see a lot of Texans here is because they just get paid more, and, they want to work in the cannabis industry too. And you guys do get a lot of experience doing that. So tell me, what is the difference between advocating in New Mexico and advocating in Texas? Like what are the key differences that you've noticed yourself, in doing this in the short time that you have, but, you've done a lot.
I think in New Mexico, since its cannabis has been in the state, the issues when they're brought up, there's more sides to the argument. There's going to be more people involved in the argument as well. But it's an argument nonetheless that is being held.
Yeah.
In Texas, it's kind of like, I mean, you take it, it's a conservative state, whether it's like, you also have the Mexican culture and all that. Damn, I forgot the question. What was it?
Well, let's talk about the differences in advocating Texas.
So then basically when I went to the legislative session in Texas in last year, I went to Austin and there was Cannabis Day. So Texas Normal was leading this whole thing and they had a presentation and all, and they were showing us how we could do the process that we were there for. I learned a lot. But everybody was just definitely more ready to be involved because it's kind of like the unattainable.
Yeah.
So everybody's more excited about it.
That's true.
Yeah, they're more going into it like, let's do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah,
and
ready for the charge.
Yeah, and in New Mexico, it's like, well, we've done that already.
Yeah.
And then this happened. What if we do this and this, that, because of that experience is there. So that's the difference. It's like here I'm advocating, like I'm like, well, I don't know about that issue. I just came in like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know about like 10 years ago when that specific thing with that specific pesticide and that specific bill, like I was not there. So I'm still learning as it goes. And in Texas, I feel that I don't have to catch up as much, rather involve myself more.
Yeah, and that makes sense, because I've been in the industry here for 11 years. So, like I'll throw out history sometimes, and people are like, "Wow, you know a lot." I was like, "I'm just old," I'm just old. So, I've seen a lot in the industry here, and that makes sense because going to Hawaii, when I went back, it was like starting all over, and it was like, oh man, I gotta figure out how the legislature works now. I gotta figure, all this other stuff if I'm gonna really try to dig in and help them from afar if I can, and that's really what I want to do is help them from afar. So yeah, I'm like, okay, so now I feel the dual advocate thing kind of coming in. So I know exactly what you're talking about, but you've learned a lot about New Mexico and you're still learning a lot. And it's great that, you're willing to learn, because some people are just like, yeah, I don't give a shit, but, you're at least willing to learn and you're willing to work. And, speaking of work, let's talk about the town halls because, that's something that we decided to do last year, and to be honest, it's something that's very successful, in my book, and I don't know about you, but I feel like it was a very successful thing that we did. And I'm really proud of it, all of us, because me and Val pretty much just swept you and Tracy under our wings, and we said, all right, we're going to show you what to do now, and we just kind of threw you guys to the wolves and the town halls, and we all had to kind of figure it out and how to do it. So I really appreciate both of you and all of you actually, because there's 5 of us, if you guys didn't know. The first one is Karina Metamontes. She's the owner of Royal Road here in Las Cruces. Second would be the OG, Valerie Hubbard. She's one of the original advocates for New Mexico. She's the grandmother of the medical cannabis program here. She even helped us, pass legalization here in New Mexico too. She was a big player in that.
Love you, Val.
Yeah, we all love you, Val. And she's been a real big player in my life and also in my advocacy life. She's been my advocate mother this whole time. And, I've learned so much from her and I'm still learning from her. We still have time to learn from her. And, I'm so glad that she wanted to join on this adventure with us because, she's getting older and she tells us that all the time. She's not 75 anymore. So, she's
80, no?
Yeah, she's getting close to 80. Yeah, she's not there yet.
Not 80 anymore.
She's not 75 anymore. So, we have to really pick up, for her on the slack and everything, but she's still there. She's still fiery. She's still ready to fight. Her and I went to Santa Fe not too long ago. So, there's that. And then of course, myself, you guys, I don't need to introduce myself on the advocacy side. If you're watching the show, you more than likely know, everything I've said about myself. Tracy Martinez, who's sitting over here, but not in frame. She is, bud tender here in the state. She does a really fantastic job. So if you're ever down in, Sunland Park, go hit her up. She works Dark Matter. She does a fantastic job with us. She actually makes all of our flyers for all the town halls and stuff like that. So if you see the flyers, Tracy made those. And she also, with Nicole, they lead all of our town halls. And of course, and I don't want to speak for you, so I'll let you introduce your advocacy self, Nicole Jordan. She is the 5th person of the group. So, but yeah, go ahead and talk about your advocacy.
Oh, well, it'll take a lot of your own resources, that's for sure. And I think that putting that and then putting in your time, which is something invaluable, well, you will tend to have a big connection to that project. And in this case, it was a town hall. So I have been very grateful to have the opportunity to travel throughout the state to meet different people in the industry, whether it's manufacturing, retail, or producers. The people that have attended our meetings, I have learned so much from. And the fact that we are you guys are in this group with us has allowed me to really meet so many people that if you guys didn't know them and we were just doing these meetings, I don't think it hit the same,
Yeah,
because you guys could be like, oh, this is so and so from X company. We actually used to do this and this before they started this, and right there I can get an image of that person, a little bit of a better feel, and that helps create that community atmosphere that I think we try to go for. So I've been very appreciative of the community that has come out through these town halls. I've been able to be in touch with people from up in the northern part of the state that I probably would never even know.
Yeah.
But yet here we are communicating when's the next city hall meeting, when's this, when's that, or town hall meetings. But they do ask about like the Las Cruces, even if they're all the way up there. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. I've been really enjoying it, and I look forward to the Farmington one.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Farmington here soon. But yeah, Nicole does so much for us in the the town hall. Her and Tracy. But you help lead all of the town halls and everything like that. And unfortunately, she didn't get to do the mushroom one. There's some stuff was going on. But Tracy helped us out with that one, and I stepped in and we did the mushroom town hall. So we went in and showed them how to do it. That's how much experience you both had, and that's how much trust I had in both of you. Because you guys do a fantastic job, both of you. And I felt that you guys would lead it well, and they're going to be doing their own thing now, so we can focus on our cannabis stuff. But they're going to be taking the same kind of model that we did and running with it. So
Awesome.
if you guys didn't know, we were doing these town halls last year, and we're still doing them. We just had to take a hiatus. All of us get a little busy sometimes. We have to kind of figure out our schedules. But last year we started in August, September.
Yeah, we were like 2 weeks. Next week, let's go another one.
yeah. Next month, all right, let's go. Boom, boom, boom. We were going boom, boom. So we decided to do these town halls because we understand that legislatively we need to update our bill, and there's certain things that have happened in the industry that we figured out. Okay, this is working, this is not working. So there's certain things that we're going to have to fix and change, and that's going to be something that's hard, and we're going to need everybody with us. So I was talking to Valerie one day, and we're talking about it. I was like, yeah, we need to do town halls, this and that. And so it came to the point where I had the opportunity to have all of us together, me, you, Tracy, Nicole, and Karina, all together. And that's when we all decided to do these town halls. And the premise behind them was really to just get the industry's input of how is it working, like what's working, what's not working. It was fairly simple, but at the same time, we got some really complicated questions and answers from it. I mean, even going to like Albuquerque, somewhere simple like that, you're in the same state, right? But they didn't understand the disparities between Texans in cannabis and New Mexicans in cannabis, because we brought up, and when you said yourself, we need to educate Texans, they pretty much laughed at all of us, because they're like, oh, the Texans, what do they need to know? And I'm like, guys, they make over half of our sales in the state, like, and I think I mentioned that after they laughed, and I was like, guys, I don't think you realize how much the Texans spend here. Like, it's a lot.
It's so funny. Like at the meetings, they'll be like, Texas, everyone will be like, oh.
Yeah,
and Tracy and I are just there like.
You're like, I'm from Texas. So yeah, it was really. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, and I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm not gonna say that they're from Texas. Moving on.
I felt brave at the Southwest Cannabis Convention because we were like, and we are from Texas. Like, I don't know, like it was just like the truth coming out or something.
And we are from Texas. Yeah, I think I remember that on the panel. Yeah. And it's good that you mentioned that, because it adds to like the dual advocacy kind of part of it. Because that's important to always kind of mention, because not many people are a dual advocate, and most people aren't even an advocate. So being a dual advocate, that's even harder. Because you do this for free. We were not paid to do this. Like the town halls, we did it out of our own money. And the reason why we did that is because we didn't want anybody to say that we're bought by anyone. We wanted us to be unbiased as possible. It was a safe space for people to talk and to share what their real concerns were. If they said, I want red ponies at every dispensary, we put it down.
Yeah, like, and you know what they're saying? They want red ponies. Like, we're so transparent with everything.
Yeah, and it was streamed on YouTube. We posted most of the results and everything with the legislators afterwards. We shared a lot, and I think a couple things did get put into the bill this past legislative session that we our findings and stuff, and some of it did actually help us fight the closure of the drive-throughs, believe it or not. Because without all of us going to the other parts of the state, I probably wouldn't have seen as many drive-throughs as I saw in the state. And like I was like, wait, no, this is a bigger issue than you guys are actually noticing. Like, there's a lot of businesses that'll have to shut down, because of your boogeyman, essentially, because there's not enough data out to say that cannabis is an issue when it comes to drive-throughs or anything like that. You can get fentanyl through a freaking drive-through if you have the prescription. So I mean, the house cannabis is the problem.
I mean, and it's not to say someone goes and buys their product, gets in their car, and opens it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference? That product will still be able to be open. New Mexico doesn't have a law where your bag has to be sealed until you get home. So it's the difference if you're getting it through a drive-through as if you're walking in to get it.
Yeah.
You can open the bag in the car.
Yeah.
Either way you buy it.
Yeah.
So I don't.
You're only minusing a couple of steps. And the real winning argument is, people who are in wheelchairs, not all the time do they want to get, or can they get out of their vehicle. Just because the building is ADA compliant doesn't mean that person can wheel themselves up that ramp. That doesn't mean that person can, without pain, get out of their vehicle and go get their stuff and go inside. Some of these people need to go through a drive-through. Like, they really don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, the ADA is just for people who are able to use it. If you're unable to use it, then your next step would be curbside or drive-through. But curbside really, I feel, takes away from the businesses, because you're having to have one employee step out of the building at all times, and they're not really dedicated to it, I feel like, versus the drive-through, where someone is more dedicated to that area than someone who's just a runner, running out trying to get the drive-through.
And the safety aspect of it as well. Like, you're definitely safer behind a drive-through window as an employee, rather than like walking out with cannabis.
Yeah.
And then walking out with cash.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is, because that does, that's a good point. And, that they weren't really thinking about safety in that issue for the employee. And I feel like, and we'll get more about talking about employees here in a minute. They don't really think about the employees a lot of the times, when it comes to like the lawmaking and stuff like that. So that's something that maybe needs to change on the advocacy front, because, like I said, we have to go to Farmington. We still need to go to Santa Fe. And then, of course, we got to come back down south, and we got to go to Deming and Silver City. So, and I kind of do feel we might have to go to my hometown, Alamogordo. I don't know what do you think?
Oh, yeah. I would love to. Yeah, because it's not a drive that's just like, people are like, let's drive up 2 hours for this town hall meeting. Yeah. It's better that it's in the area. So I think I'd be done.
I agree. And Alamogordo is an interesting area, because a lot of the Texans that go to Rio Doso, they stop in Alamogordo, and like they fuel up there or whatever. And so a lot of the sales there are the passerbyers just going up to Rio Doso, because, that's, West Texas Hamptons pretty much. And so, like, it's a little Texas playground over there. And like I said, unfortunately earlier, Rio Doso is going through a lot of hurt right now. But yeah, Alamogordo is that little vein for them up there. So I think it would be good to get their input, and the people from Rio Doso can, come down to, and Cloudcroft's only like 20 minutes. So they can come down too. You guys can come off your little mountain for a little bit. I know a lot of those people over there, so I can talk crap. That's my mountain too. But yeah, I'm really excited to continue this journey on with you girls, because I've learned a lot from all of you, and from everyone else from the state too, when we gone to these places. Like, I've learned more about my state, and I've learned more about my industry. Like, especially just driving through the Permian Basin, as we said, we saw how disgusting that was, and how gross the oil industry really makes our state, in that area. And if you look at it through a satellite view of the Permian Basin, all you see is dots. Every single one of those is an oil rig. And like, you see nothing but oil rigs for miles, as far as your eyes can see. And the stench, oh my God, it's unbearable almost, like, it was almost wheezy. It was really bad. And another thing that really alarmed me and really hurt was, you go through these little oil towns, and they're broken down towns. They don't spend any money on the cities. They don't try to fix anything up. Like, it's really ghetto. But yet, all this money is coming from these areas, but it's not staying there. And that's one thing that, you see, and that we saw too. It's like, wow, like, cannabis could be helping some of these people in these areas, thrive, because they have these businesses, and, they're selling to the, the oil workers. Because we went there. I don't know if you guys went to Denny's with us, but it was me and Josh when we were there at a different time. Went at Denny's, and there was like nobody working there, because everybody works in the oil fields. They don't have like people to work at like the restaurants. Oh. Yeah. I don't think you remember that. I think we went somewhere and saw that.
We went to IHOP.
Hobbs, that's what it was. Because we went to Hobbs, Carlsbad, and Clovis. Did we go to Roswell? I don't think we went. I think we skipped Roswell.
No, we didn't go to
Roswell. We didn't go to Roswell. We went to 3 different places on the east, and man, they were rough, because it was all like oil kind of places. And if you guys don't know, when you live in an oil town like that, most of the people that live there work in the oil fields, and so they don't have enough people or kids to work at like the restaurants like IHOP or like Applebee's. So you go in, and sometimes there's one person working, and they're doing everything. And shout out to that person, because she was hauling ass.
Yeah, it was crazy. Checking in, plates, almost cooking it, like.
Yeah, it was wild, and the cannabis industry over there is, totally different from the rest of the state. They're dependent on Texans as well as other things too. Their demographics totally different. And they brought up a few things that I never even thought of. And like some of the concerns I thought were going to be there weren't there. Like, Hobbs was surprising that, like, yeah, the cops are fine with us here. It's like, what? Yeah, they leave us alone. They work with us. And I'm like, that's actually really relieving to hear, you know,
Yeah.
especially on this part of the state, you know. So, you know, and Val always tell me, she's like, that's the place we can always, you know, rely on a blue vote, I guess. I guess Hobbs leans blue in New Mexico. It's a weird area in eastern New Mexico that tends to do that. Because if you guys don't know, eastern New Mexico is pretty red. Being from Otero County originally, I can tell you it's pretty red over there. But Hobbs, they do go blue a lot of the time. So they're not as conservative, but at the same time, they still have that conservative feel, you know, oil field and stuff like that. So it's a really interesting area, and I'm really excited to see Farmington. You know, because they have some oil there too. But not as much as the East. So I'm excited to kind of see how their industry is up there, because there's some pretty decent producers up there. You know, I don't know if you try some of the Farmington people.
Actually, yes. I
Yeah.
think I've smoked some like wax from Farmington.
Okay, yeah. And I've had a couple, you know, flower cultivars from up there, and it was pretty good. It was pretty fire. It wasn't bad. So I'm excited to see about that. I'm already in touch with one of them. One of them reached out to me, and you know, they offered their place, so we already have a place to have it at. Yeah. So yeah. One less thing I gotta do.
Yeah, that's great. That's a big one.
Yeah, shout out to them. I got to get back to him, and you know, we'll square it all away. And the next time we have a meeting and all that, we'll square it away too. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. We learned a lot, and we're gonna learn more, and we'll bring it to you guys. You know, when it comes time to when we can share certain things, what we find, because some of this is really important. You know, the findings that we get. So yeah,
they are.
100%. So I mean, what is your favorite place that we've gone to so far, minus Cruces and Sunland Park?
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Sunland Park.
Sunland Park was fun. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that was fun.
So I think I really enjoyed Carlsbad, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, huh?
Yeah, I did.
We stayed in a haunted house, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, though that place was so scary.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I slept on the couch. So I was like, honestly, open space for me is good. Rather than those dark rooms with the basement view.
Yeah, that felt less creepy too. Yeah, and you're like the only one that fit on that couch. So I was like, good for you.
Yeah, I was out of there at 5 a.m. because I had to work.
Yeah, Nicole is crazy. Like every town hall, for some reason, she didn't get the next day off, so she was going to work the very next day, and we were sitting there like, you were crazy, Nicole. It's just so I'm just glad that you made it to work in one piece.
My God, I'd be like, I have to wake up at 4.
Yeah.
Or like be out of here by 4 to make it to work by 9.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
So, really good great adventures and great stories for a lifetime. So I'm looking forward to it, you know, and you know, I'm glad that, you know, you guys are staying with me on this journey for advocacy. You know, because, you know, I know that once Texas goes, Texas will need both of you. So I hope we can keep you guys here as long as we can. You know, of course, because, you know, we need people like you. And you guys aren't even from New Mexico, and you're fighting for New Mexico. That speaks volumes. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that are from here that say, fuck New Mexico, will never fight for New Mexico. But, you know, both of you are here fighting for it. So I think both of you, you know, because, like, that takes a lot, you know, to fight for a state you don't even live in.
Oh,
you know?
Been an awesome state. Everybody's been so kind. Senators have been amazing. City councilors, county commissioners, and everybody in between have been awesome in New Mexico. So it's been really easy to get in and fight for this state.
Yeah, and you guys, you know, you have the best intentions. You know, like you guys leave the separate, you know, work stuff, and you know, when it comes to advocate time, it's advocate time. You know, and I like the fact that you both can, you know, separate the two, because some people don't know how.
I think that's important. Recognize your roots, and then you can be a part of other things, but not let the project itself define you.
100%. And speaking of don't know how, we'll move on to the next and final topic. But before we do, is there anything else you want to talk about advocacy before we move on?
No, I think that was a great coverage of everything.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So last thing I want to talk about is SOPs and worker safety in the cannabis industry. And now this isn't something that we just deal with in New Mexico. You know, this is something that's more nationwide. And it's something that I've kind of only realized recently. And I think a lot of us have only realized recently. And it really starts out with the SOPs. So SOPs, if you guys don't know, standard operating procedures, or if you're in the Air Force, I guess it's the Army is standing operating procedure. Anyway, they pretty much an instruction manual on how to do everything It could be washing your hands. It could be doing a transaction. It can be cleaning a bong. You know, it could be any of those things. And it's always in an SOP. But a lot of people, what they do is they get the SOP because it is required in New Mexico in the cannabis industry. They just throw it in a box and they only pull it out when there's, you know, an inspection. However, SOPs are actually way more valuable than that. SOPs can actually train your whole staff without you having to do anything, as long as they read it. And I've been learning too that the cannabis industry hates reading, like a lot. Like I'm not a big fan of reading, but I know I have to get certain things done, so I do it. But the cannabis industry, they just refuse to read. Like, have you realized that too? Like how much people hate reading here?
I mean, just with bills.
Yeah, you're right. You know, half of them don't even read their bills or pay them. So, you know, there's a lot of people in the industry who owe people money in the bill section. I hear about it all the time. So yeah, you know, reading lack of, you know, seems to be an issue here. You know, like what's your experience with the SOP thing though? You know, I kind of want to get like, you know, someone else's, you know, point of view on that.
So when I was at High Horse, I developed the SOP for the transaction process for the drive-through. And the way I did it was just basically I did a transaction and noted every step that I did, from where I placed the ID to in what order you scan, to what order you bag, and even when to give back the receipt, and what order to give back the ID.
Yeah.
So it was a very specific process. And then when I finished it, I would get managers to basically do 100 like I would sit with managers and have them do 100 transactions based off of this process that I came up with. And then I would watch them, and for every 10th transaction, and you know, like I would time them, say like, okay, they did this and then they did that. Like it would get shorter. And also I would write down like what's not working and what's not working, because eventually, like essentially at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones doing it all day, you know, not the people making the SOPs.
Yeah.
So I think that's also something to keep in mind when creating them, is like, how is it going to work for the employee as well? Like, is it just going to be this super strict SOP that no one's really going to want to follow, so they're going to make up their own little side rules up until the time comes for them to get the audit done, and now they have to follow the procedure?
Yeah.
I think it's like, to make it like a good procedure in the first place will like involve the people that are going to be doing the procedure. So I think that is important to keep in mind with SOPs. But it's definitely an experience. It's a bit of a pain to make an SOP, but once you have it done, you're like, so satisfying.
Yeah, and once it's done, it's done. You can update it, whatever, you know, you can change it if you need. And that's the beauty of them, is you don't have to leave them be. They're not like chiseled in stone. You know, they're usually a file document you can just go and reprint. So, you know, yeah, it's great that you went through those and you had the redundancies, you know, because when it comes to SOPs, it is line by line, what you do, where your left hand goes, where this goes, because you want people to kind of do it the same, so that way they don't mess up. Now they're going to have their own little style, of course. But you know, you want them to be trained pretty much the same, so that way you know that they got it exactly how you wanted it. You know, because if not, they're gonna do it their own way, and, you know, completely their own way, and then it's just gonna get messed up. And you're gonna be like, "What are you doing? How did you even do this? Like, how did you even accomplish this?" So I've been noticing a lot of places that don't rely on SOPs whatsoever at all. Like they just disregard them, and you know, they're very important. And a lot of the times, safety is disregarded because the SOP is disregarded. And then what that ends up being is the employee ends up getting hurt, and then the employer gets blamed. Well, the employer needs to ensure that the employee is reading the SOP too. And that's where I think the hang up is, and where some people just kind of, well, leave it at, well, this is only required for me to get my license, whatever, it's just there. I used to work at certain places where they would make you do training if you weren't doing anything else. When I worked at Apple, we weren't reading SOPs, but we were reading things about the devices. We were learning little knickknacks things to show customers, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we were always training and learn. That's why when you go to an Apple store and you ask them a question, they probably know it like that. Is because they're always constantly training. They're more than likely thought of that same question before you walked in the door, you know, and they know how to answer it. Sometimes they don't get me wrong. There's a couple times where I got stumped. I was like, that's a good question. But they give you the leeway to say, well, let's learn together, you know, and that's something that people need to learn too, is like, well, if I don't know as a manager, let's learn together then. You know, and you need to be able to be that comfortable as a manager, say, I'm not going to know everything. I'm supposed to know a lot, but I'm not going to know everything. But if I don't, let's learn together, you know, and then I'm going to train everybody else, you know, and I'm not sure if you've experienced that yourself or done it. I'm sure you have, you know, because you used to do training, right?
Yes, I used
Yeah.
to do new employer orientations and then just familiarize them with the process, and later on the training for like when it was their first day, like just go through everything. So, um, yeah, I think it's important to keep all of that in mind because it is their safety. But that's something that just I think it's important, and as I said before, it's them doing it at the end of the day. Like they're the ones that are going to be dealing with that lock.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to be dealing with the customers that are unhappy. They're the ones that are going to be dealing with the fake change,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the situation might be. And I think you should have an SOP for that because those situations are going to happen, and you don't want to be caught off guard for that because then it leaves room for like lawsuits.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of lawsuit, the reason why I bring this up is, a few months back, actually a couple years ago, this is when this incident happened or occurred. Trueville, they got fined $350,000 because one of their employees unfortunately passed away. She was in their manufacturing area and there was powdered flour in the air and they're, making joints, and she had asthma and she had an asthma attack, collapsed, and perished later in the hospital, unfortunately. So they got fined $350,000. The mother of that woman is suing them as well because of that, because they didn't have respirators or anything to help them, to keep their mouths covered. And, that's where I get worried because a lot of this stuff is in SOPs. Like why isn't an SOP being enforced, and why aren't we taking safety more serious in the cannabis industry? And I get, we're still learning certain things and issues about the industry. And I actually put up a question yesterday on my Instagram. I'm sure you saw it. And I was asking everybody, how can we make our industry safer? Of course, some people were giving me off questions, this and that. It'd be nice if I didn't have to deal with the border patrols. Like, it would be nice. And I guess that does go down to a safety thing because that's scary as shit. But I was like, it's not really what I meant. Like how can we make it safer for the employees in the industry? Because like even going into a grow, you have those lights. You need sunglasses. Like I
Yeah.
keep
Oh
my
yeah.
sunglasses on me because when I go into a grow, I most likely put those on. It's bright. You mix in nutrients. You need the right PPE because some of that stuff will give you skin burns. Give you rashes, even pH up, pH down. That stuff gets a little corrosive. And so that's my worry is someone's gonna really mess themselves up, and then it's gonna open people up to more lawsuits. So if Trueville loses this lawsuit, that opens it up to everybody else in the industry to get sued for something similar.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you right now, nobody's wearing a respirator right now making pre-rolls in the industry. And we're probably going to see a commercial in about 15 years. If you were rolling joints in 24, and in 2022, without a respirator, give us a call. You might be entitled to compensation. We don't want to see that. We want to prevent that as much as possible. So I really hope to see more employee safety taken seriously. And we don't even need a law change for that to happen. We just need the industry to kind of take more of a progressive stance on it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I'm going to wait for the regulations to come up, you should say, I'm going to get my employees respirators right now because I want their health. I want them to be healthy. They come to work more often,
Yeah.
And I don't want to get, lose my business at the end of the day and my license,
Yeah, I think it's just we need to get rid of that traditional market mindset that comes with like, oh, just pay me in cash, or we don't need to write that down, or don't worry about that, we'll take care of this like this way.
Yeah.
And we can't be doing business like that anymore.
Yeah.
Working in a company that now is just, they're so professional and they maintain a standard for all of that kind of like professionalism that comes with big companies. And so it's really nice to see that in a cannabis company.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's very common, unfortunately, now, like being up to that standard with down to like emails or conversations or even requests. They're just so informal, so unprofessional sometimes. And it's because we're not trained in the cannabis industry to maintain that standard that other industries have.
Yeah.
And not only have, but require.
Yeah. And, we don't have to go corporate IBM or anything like that, but there is a professionalism that we need to hold, telling people good morning, this and this and this, my apologies for this and this, not, yo, dog, my bad for this shit, put a little professionalism on there, don't make us all look stupid.
Utilize your email address, know when business hours are. Just things like that sound very basic, but also like it just helps you get that image going,
Yeah.
and we don't have that image very much.
Yeah, and you don't have to show up with a tie or anything, but talk to people the right way.
Yeah.
And have a professionalism. This isn't the traditional market anymore. This is don't forget where you come from, but also don't forget where you are
and where you're headed.
Yeah, and where you're headed. That's another thing. You want to be headed up. You don't want to be headed like this or this. And we want that professionalism to keep going, because it goes down to also the people they hire. Like certain places do better because they hire the right people. They hire the managers that know what they're doing, who know how to train. Because if you have a good manager that knows how to train, he can train just about anybody.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen managers that are just phenomenal, can train just about anybody that you thought they couldn't train. And if they can't, then that person doesn't belong there. You need to find another position for them, or work somewhere else. Unfortunately, but it goes down to leadership. The owners, they can be blamed for just about everything, but owners need to start picking their leaders better, their managers better. Stop hiring your buddies. Stop hiring the person you think's hot. Just because they're attractive, don't just hire them because of that. Make sure these people are qualified. If they're not qualified, you're not going to end up with a good product at the end of the day. I'm not saying don't give people a try or anything like that, but if you can tell that they're just there for the paycheck and nothing else, and they're not passionate enough, then they might not be a good place. Like yourself, you're very passionate and you're very motivated and you do a good job. And I'm sure your job appreciates that, because they pay for their employees, they pay their managers, and everything like that. They keep people happy. And that's how you keep your employees around too. Like some people just don't even pay their employees, and it blows my mind. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, what? Like, you didn't get paid?
Yeah.
And I've experienced that myself, unfortunately. So I know from experience. And, it's good to see when that happens, but for the most part in the industry, it's not happening. And that really worries me, because now we're going to run into these issues of people getting sick, of people, hopefully not dying from asthma, like while rolling pre-rolls, because then, that just makes us look bad, and unfortunately, this didn't happen in New Mexico, this incident. But, it could. I'm not saying, it can never happen here, but it can. And who knows? There's been reports, people told me personally, that they had upper respiratory infections due to mold in the areas where they're processing. And to be honest, in New Mexico, a lot of places, unfortunately, are selling stuff that has mold in it. And I'm not saying that just, talking crap. I've seen these products in, these places, and sometimes I've unfortunately got the product and it had mold on it.
Yeah, Google what bud rot looks like, or mold, because you might have smoked some.
Sorry, it makes me queasy. Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, people have dealt with that already. So I hopefully we don't see big issues come from that. And I just want you guys to don't just rely on your SOPs. Get a good SOP. If you have to pay for it, pay for it. Like, this is a business. You're gonna have to money in, money out. Yeah. And the money out hopefully goes towards your business, because it only helps it grow. If you're paying good money for that manager, it's for a good reason, if they know what they're doing. And if they're training your employees right and your bud tenders, it's going to show. And your customer is going to be happy at the end product too. So that's one thing I just wanted to bring up. Do you have anything else for like the safety SOP kind of thing?
No, just to employees in general, to always inform yourself on your rights in the workplace, and don't let anybody walk over you because you're valuable, and don't let a job define you in your worth. So always protect your work, and especially when it comes to your safety.
100%. That's some good advice. Solid advice there, Nicole. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a little bit of a long episode, and I got a mess on the ground. I got to clean up right here.
I was trying so hard not to look.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm trying not to pick them up, but I'm trying to also keep the episode going. I dropped all my papers, but luckily the last couple ones stayed in order. I want to thank all my sponsors again. Monster House, where we're currently at right now. Come check them out. Cinder Cannabis, check them out here in Las Cruces, and also Turquoise Bloom. They're here in Las Cruces, I believe, on Wyatt. So go ahead and check those out. And thank you again for your sponsorship. And again, Nicole, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me on this advocacy thing. It's been great, and hopefully continue.
Thank you for having me and for waiting on me through the traffic hour.
That's all right, dude. It's 7:10. Now we're all gonna go celebrate.
Yes, so. Happy 7:10.
All right, guys, we're out. I'll see y'all next week. All right, shoots. Awesome. Yay! Thank you so much. Yes, that was good.
I just wanted to point out something that I didn't even realize this until earlier, when the title of the show was, Meet the Padawans. Look at the shirt behind you.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. It's Star Wars.
That's the May the 4th shirt. I didn't see the 4th because it's sitting on the right hand side. There's May.
Oh, that's
and then
right.
the
It's
4th.
Oh.
well, I don't like that answer. Can you cut that out, or do you cut anything?
Yeah, we can cut it. Yeah, we can cut it out. I'll just ask you again.
I
He
was like,
hates
over in
doing
one
cuts,
run,
but
and
we're
I'm
gonna
like,
make him do a
okay.
cut right now. Yeah.
Or I don't know. Can we cut that out? Like the whole city come. I don't want to get like. I don't want to start being like. Lita. Just let's cut it out at that. I hope it goes to the community.
Sorry, Gino.
Your hair looks good.